Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our AdSense on Air live stream. Today, we're going to be talking about the Better Ad Standards. My name is Sarah Hornsey, and I'm a Strategic Partner Manager here in Mountain View. Before we jump into the content, I would like to just remind everyone that you can register for all upcoming live streams at g.co/AdSense on Air. So today's event is part of a series. Our AdSense team will be posting new live streams every month. So we highly recommend you visit that link and go ahead and register for anything that sounds interesting to you. We will also be saving time to answer some of your questions at the end of today's live stream. So you can continue to submit those questions at the link shown on the screen, g.co/AdSense questions. And as always at Google, we really love your feedback. So we will be sending you a survey after the live stream today. Please do go ahead and answer that survey. It will just take a couple of minutes, and we really do take your opinion to heart. This is how we continue to do these events and continue to improve our services for you. Also, once you fill out that survey, that's how you'll get the PDF of this deck. So make sure to do that. Great. So now we have all of the housekeeping items out of the way. I'd like to just take a second to talk about what we're going to kind of go through today and really the purpose of the live stream. So we're going to start with an overview of the Better Ad Standard. Here we're going to talk about sort of the context for the standard, why it's important, and really what issues we're trying to address here. We'll talk about the Coalition for Better Advertising, as well as the mission. Then we'll kind of segue a little bit and talk about what Google is doing. So really we'll focus on how we're trying to reduce demand for ad blocking. We'll touch on the ad experience report as well as Chrome filtering. And then finally, probably the most important for you all, we'll go over kind of the recommended actions, what are the key takeaways from today, and what you can do now. So to make sure that we can have a free and open web, we need to provide users with a great experience no matter where they are. So from your content to your site navigation, even to your monetization strategy, we need to make sure that we're making users happy. And this is how we can create a healthy, sustainable ecosystem. We know that our content creators spend loads of time investing in great content. We know you have engaging site experience that keeps your users coming back. We know you have methods to drive users to your site and that you're using, the best ad technology out there to really maximize your revenue. But the fact is, an increasing number of users are coming to your site with an ad blocker installed. So more often than not, what happens is, a user experiences a negative ad experience somewhere across the internet, and they decide the only way to deal with it is to get an ad blocker. The sad fact is, and it is sad for us in the industry, is that sometimes display advertising has been annoying for users. Ads that are disruptive, that have been distracting, or even that have just been bothersome have prompted users to install the ad blocker. And the real issue here is that ad blockers block all ads indiscriminately. So no matter how great your site is, ad blocking will impact you. It might not be related to you at all, but you're the one missing out on the value exchange. And this is really the issue, and we know it takes a big toll on content creators. So the fact is, even sites with great ad experiences have a greater than 30% ad block rate. So we saw a massive uptake in ad blocking from 2014 to 2015. And we know that our content creators really felt it when it happened. This rate has continued to increase over the past couple of years, and now we're at that 30% range. What's even more scary is that for users of the 18 to 24-year-olds, more than 50% of them are using an ad blocker. So these are users that are valuable to publishers, they're valuable to advertisers, but they may even be responsible for increased ad blocking within other age groups. So you can imagine, the teenager that's on the parent's home computer, they experience an annoying ad and they go ahead and download that ad blocker. As we all know, the issue here is that ad blocking, once installed, will block all ads. So it's a big issue, but there is a good side. There's a silver lining. We realize that when we have a big issue like this, there's a real upside to solving it. So we, along with many of the other members in the coalition, believe that by improving ad experiences, by really listening to users, to focusing on creating and ensuring a very positive user experience across the internet, this is a massive opportunity, not just to reduce ad blocking, but actually to clean up the ecosystem and make sure it's sustainable, it's healthy, and that we can all continue to support the free, open, and accessible web that we love. So the Coalition for Better Ads mission is to develop and implement new global standards for online advertising. We at Google are really proud that we've been a founding member of this coalition. We've had a role to play in bringing together, key stakeholders from buy side to sell side, all working together to promote a free and open web. So how do we do it? Well, the coalition started by doing a ton of research. So they're looking at user behaviors and trying to understand what is it that makes a user download an ad blocker? And can we pinpoint which ads are responsible for this most of the time? And with that in mind, the coalition released the Better Ad Standards in 2017. So as you can see here on the screen, the Better Ad Standards call out 4 different ad experiences on desktop and then 8 experiences on mobile. Really important to note that you can access these standards at any time just by going to the betterads.org. And it's a great website. For every single example, there's a little blurb and it explains exactly what it means. So you should be very clear and very transparent on what exactly the ad experience is referring to. I will digress here for a minute just to quickly talk about the density policy on mobile. Here at Google, we get a ton of questions about this one specifically, and I think it's been a little challenging for partners to understand. So the density policy on mobile, it refers to the ratio between the total vertical height of the page versus the vertical height of any ads on that page, including anchor ads. So the way I like to remember it is by using an example. You can imagine a page where you have the title, and all the way down to the bottom of the content. So let's say that's 1,000 pixels. And then maybe you have 2 banner ads and an anchor ad at the bottom. And when you add up the vertical heights of each of those, it gets to over 500 pixels. Obviously, in that case, you're going to be looking at a 50% density, and that would be not compliant with the standards. So in general, you can definitely go online, you can take a look, make sure you understand what these are referring to. But one really important thing to remember here is that these are negative standards. So these aren't telling you what to do, they're simply telling you what not to do. And these are also minimum guidelines. So again, we get a lot of questions from people asking, hey, what about this experience that I've imagined? And what do you think? Would that be compliant? And really our best advice for anyone in this situation, anyone thinking, of a new experience that's not explicitly stated here, the best advice is think about your users. So if you're considering a new ad experience, think like a user. Think, is this ad disruptive? Is it distracting? Will it take the user away from the user journey? And really by keeping the users top of mind here, this is how we can all work together to create a sustainable ecosystem. And with that being said, I think that's kind of the key takeaways and really the best overview of the Better Ad Standards that we can give you at this time. So now we'll move on and we'll talk a little bit about what we here at Google are doing. So as we mentioned, the Better Ad Standards were published in 2017, and this is a really great step forward in our mission. But there's another issue, and the issue is, well, how do we get everyone on board? How do we get industry-wide uptake of these standards that the coalition have published? And what we're doing here at Google is we're doing a few things. One, we're working with the coalition. 2, we've provided the ad experience report, and we also announced that we're going to start Chrome filtering. So the reason we're doing these things is really to try to reduce demand for ad blocking by eliminating annoying ads. So let's kind of start by really focusing on the ad experience report. I think this is really important for a lot of partners, and again, we get a ton of questions about this. So if you're not familiar with it, it's a report that can be accessed through the Google Search Console, and anyone who's an admin of the console has access to this report. I'm just going to walk you through sort of the key elements of the report here. So first, you'll see the domain, and this refers to the site that the standard is being applied to, and it includes all subdomains as well. You'll then also see the region. This one's really important, and I think can maybe be confusing, but the region is discerned based on where the majority of your audience is. So even if you're a publisher in Brazil, let's say, but the majority of your audience is in the UK, well, the standard that will be applied is the standard in the UK. After those couple of things, you'll then see an option to download a report. This can be really, really helpful if you're trying to share it with internal teams, just so that they know the status here. And then, perhaps most importantly, you'll see your status. So your status can say one of 4 things. It can say pending, passing, warning, or failing. If you have a pending status, this means we haven't yet reviewed your site. Please do be patient. Rest assured, we will get to everyone in due course. Also note, if your users are in a region where we haven't actually designed the standard yet, that will not be reviewed. So we'll wait until the coalition posts that standard, and then those sites will be reviewed. Of course, you could have a passing status. So that's great news. What that means is that in our latest scan, we didn't find any evidence of ad experiences that violate the Better Ad standards. Of course, we always recommend to kind of self-review, make sure you're aware of the standards anyway, make sure you're not using any of those negative ad experiences. But overall, you should be in good shape if you're seeing a passing status. You could see a warning status. So what this means is that in the latest scan, we did find some evidence of ad experiences that are called out by the Better Ad standards. If you see a warning status, it will also be accompanied by a list of all the issues. And the really cool thing is that each one has a great explanation. You can click on it, and you can actually see a video that will show you exactly where the violation occurred. So what you'll want to do is take a look through those, make sure you understand them, and then go ahead and try and resolve them. Finally, you could see a failing status. If you see a failing status, it means that in the latest scan, we found pretty significant evidence of ad experiences that are called out by the Better Ad standards. You'll also see a date, and that date is for the start of Chrome filtering. That date will be 30 days after the original status was first posted, and if no changes are made, that will be the date when Chrome will begin to filter ads on that domain. So of course, you'll want to go through, make sure you understand the issues, and go ahead and resolve them. Of course, mistakes do happen. We're only human. So it is possible that you might see an incorrectly identified issue. A really common example of this is a violation for a pop-up. And then when you click on the video, you actually realize, it's a pop-up for an internal newsletter and it's not an ad. If this is the case, you can let us know. There's an icon which is shown here on the screen that you can click on and request a re-review. Please note, if you do that, it does only apply to that specific issue. So if there's other issues within the page, requesting that re-review will not have any impact on those. And great news, let's say you've gone ahead, you've fixed the issues, you're pretty sure you're compliant now. What to do next? So what you'll do is you'll go back into the Google Search Console, and you can tell us how you fixed it. Please be detailed here, explain exactly what actions you took, and then once you've done that, you simply click I fixed this, and then your site will be submitted for a re-review. Once we've re-reviewed it, we will notify users, those people who are admins of the Google Search Console, of the new status, so you can go ahead and check the outcome. And just a reminder, Chrome filtering will begin on February 15th. This is next Wednesday, actually. So it's coming up soon. This is for anyone who has a failing status in the ad experience report for more than 30 days. So do be prepared for that and make sure you take action beforehand. So what should you do? We've gone over, the overview of the better ads. We understand why it's important. What do you want to do now? What should you take away from this? Well, absolutely, first and foremost, you should self-audit your site. So go to the betterads.org, make sure you understand the standards, and take a look through your sites, all of your domains, all your subdomains, and make sure you're not using any of those ad experiences that are explicitly mentioned in the standard. Again, you can also review your ad experience report. You can check your status. You can also check the Open API, which is available on betterads.org, which will show all domains and it will show their accompanying status as well. And then, of course, fix any violations. So if you do have warning or failing status, go ahead and fix those. And again, regardless of the status, make sure you're kind of being proactive, you're looking through your site. And if you realize that you're doing something that is called out by the Better Ad standard, go ahead and fix that too. And then, of course, you can just submit for re-review. And at that point, we'll re-review the site and hopefully the issues will be fixed and we'll be able to issue that passing status. Well, thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed the event today and that you really learned a lot. We would like to remind you again that you can register for all upcoming live streams at the link shown here on the screen, and continue to ask your questions at g.co/AdSense question. And one final ask, please do give us your feedback. Again, it will be a short survey, quickly fill it out. And this is how we will be sending you the PDF. So once you've filled out that survey, we'll send you the PDF of the deck that I presented. So thanks again. We're now going to take some time to answer some of your questions. Okay, so Oliver asked, what should channel partners do to prepare for Chrome filtering? Great question, and a question we hear a lot here on the account team as well, actually. The best advice we have for channel partners is to make use of the Open API. So you can do that at betterads.org, as I mentioned. From there, you can see all the statuses of all the sites. And then our recommendation is to work with those individual site owners to make sure you fix the issues and become compliant. Matt asks, should publishers expect the standards to change? If so, how and when will be notified? So short answer is yes, we do expect the standards to change. And the reason for this is, the coalition is continuing to do research. They're continuing to test more and more ad experiences. And based on the outcome of that research, the standards may change, more ad experiences might be added. Rest assured, we will give you ample notification of any changes. Alexandra asks, why would a site be warning versus failing? This is really to do with the volume of ad experiences. So a warning site would have a significant volume of ad experiences that are violation to the Better Ad standards, whereas a failing site would just have a higher volume. Edward asks, video and interstitials are high revenue formats. How is this factored into the standards? That's a good question, and it's a tricky one. The reality is, in this mission to clean up the ecosystem, to have a great user experience and really maintain the free and open web, we have to make difficult decisions. So based on the coalition's research, those ad experiences that are most annoying, that really prompt users to download an ad blocker, they will be included in those standards, regardless of sort of the revenue impact. Terry asks, what are companies other than Google doing, if anything? Great question. So again, as I kind of alluded to, the coalition is made up of a ton of different stakeholders. So, from publishers and ad networks to agencies and advertisers, this really is an industry-wide effort to clean up the ecosystem and to promote a free and open web. So with that in mind, I do think other companies are doing things. And I think we're all sort of working with the coalition to figure out how best we can further the mission. We also have a question about the certified company register from Simon, asking about the certified company register and what is this? So this is actually maintained by the coalition. So we at Google don't really have any knowledge or awareness of that initiative. So if you are interested in the certified company register, just go to the betterads.org and go from there. Edward asks, how will Google ads such as vignettes and sticky be aligned with better ad standards? Another question that we get a lot. So we are actually in the process of evolving some of our Google policies to align with the better ad standards. These will be kind of changed and adapted in the coming months. And again, rest assured, we will be notifying you of any changes that you can expect here. Eric asks, will we be actively notified when our sites are reviewed and or if we have warning or failing? I think I mentioned this earlier today, but you will be actively notified of a failing status. You will not be notified of any other status unless it's a re-review. So failing status, first and foremost, yes, you will be notified. If you then submit for a re-review and the status changes, you will be notified then as well. Ali asks, sticky ads on mobile. If they're at the top, is that okay? How big is big? So our best advice, just in general, for anyone who has questions about the ad experiences that are explicitly mentioned within the Better Ad standards, it is just to go to betterads.org. As I said, they do have really great explanations and pictures to go along with it. But to answer the question, how big is too big? It's 30%. So both on desktop and mobile, if the ad is greater than 30% of the screen's real estate, then that is considered a violation. Spencer asks, does Chrome filtering apply to just top-level domain or all subdomains too? It will apply to all subdomains too. So within that ad experience report, you'll see your domain, and then that report will reflect all subdomains that roll up into that domain as well. Nikita asks, I'm confused about interstitials and pop-ups. Is there a timer? So agreed, there's a lot of different pop-ups and interstitials that are called out. So I can take a second to kind of walk you through those. For pop-ups specifically, relates to both desktop and mobile. And then for interstitials, they're actually split into prestitials and poststitials. So on desktop, the prestitial with a timer is a violation, but a prestitial that can be immediately closed is okay. On mobile, regardless of whether it has a timer or not, a prestitial is not okay. And then for a poststitial, if it has a timer, then that is a violation. If it can be immediately closed, then that's okay. Again, just to reiterate, you can find out all this information on the betterads.org. I suggest you kind of go there and take a look to make sure all of this makes sense. We have a question from Daniel. Is it possible to get your account verified? So I'm interpreting that as asking whether you can get your site reviewed and immediately kind of told whether the status is passing. The short answer is no. Unfortunately, we don't have any manner of sort of requesting a review proactively, but rest assured these will happen in due time. And again, depending on the region of where your users are, the reviews will take place once those standards have been published by the coalition. Syed asks, I'm from India. Till now, my website not reviewed by the Better Ads team. How long will it take? Got it. So that's a very similar question. And again, unfortunately, we don't have a proactive way to look at these just yet, but we will be doing so in due time, and it will be based on where your users are. So I think that's about all we have time for today. Again, thank you all so much for your time, and I really hope you enjoyed the session and take our feedback survey. Thank you.